start by muting all of you, just so that we can kind of work on getting rid of the background noise. You can all unmute yourself, so if you want to, you can click that and unmute it. If any questions come up as we're going through this, you can put them in the chat, and I kind of keep an eye on it and read them as we're going that way so that we can address them. In the chat, you'll see Lisa shared a link with all of you. It's just kind of the breakdown of what we're walking through. Don't panic when you look at it right now. It looks scary, it looks intimidating, but really it's a lot of copying and pasting and just getting the feel for that. We will probably walk through it once or twice, and your head is going to feel like it's spinning a little bit. Don't panic, don't drop out and think I can't do this, because we will stay on and we'll kind of walk you through it. And by like the third or fourth time, you start to get a feel for it. And then once you play with it, you'll really get the hang of it. So the first thing that we are going to start with is just kind of some general ways to make your sheets. I know if you were on here earlier, you heard Jeremy mention that Google Sheets does have a template for a gradebook sheet, so you could use that one. And then also your Google Classroom will automatically make a sheet for you. So I am going to start by sharing my screen with you and just kind of walk through a couple of those options. And then I will hand it over to Lisa to show you the more challenging part of this demonstration. Sound good? Nod your heads. Yes? Okay, perfect. Let me share my screen. So if you look right here, I'm just kind of in Drive, and under Sheets, the Gradebook option right here, if you click on that, that would automatically give you a gradebook template that you could start to work from. Give it a second to catch up to me. On the tabs at the bottom, this is where you could put your students' names, and then you have your assignments here. So if you wanted to start a sheet this way, that would be one way that you could start your template sheet to do this formula that we're going to show you. The other way is in your Google Classroom. So I'm just here on my stream in my Google Classroom. If I click over to classwork, and you're going to want to choose your most recent assignment, because that way it will, that way it will have all of your assignments that you've posted so far. So if you go to your most recent assignment and you go down to view assignment and click on that, in the right-hand corner, there's a little gear. And if you click on that, you can click on copy all grades to Google Sheets. And then what it's going to do is bring up your Google Classroom with all of your assignments that you've done so far this year, all of your kids, and then any scores that you have done so far this year. So I am going to share this with Lisa. And then she is going to take over from there.
Okay, so here is the gradebook that Jesse just downloaded. One thing that I would do is maybe clean up a little of this. I probably wouldn't want the column with their emails to copy onto what the parents see. I don't really need that column. I would probably take out the class average. I would delete that row. This one is nothing. I would just make it look nice, because whatever you see on here is what the parents will see too. So I don't want anything extra. Okay. So you've got your grades here. Then the next step will be to create a spreadsheet for every other student. And we're going to use a formula to copy everything from row 1 and 2 onto each of those spreadsheets because every kid needs to see 1 and 2. They need to see the names of the assignments. If you want row 2, they can see the total points possible. And then I'm going to show you how to just copy the row from each student onto their spreadsheet so that every time you enter more grades on this spreadsheet, that will populate their individual one. You don't even have to open theirs anymore. The parents will see in real time what their grades are right after you enter them. So like I said, we need to make a new sheet for each student, but I'll start with this one. Let's have, went too far. Let's have this be Danielle Lau. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to find in our slides the formula that you use to copy things from one spreadsheet to another. Like we said earlier, you do not have to be a sheets expert. You don't have to know what this formula means, really. You just have to know what each section represents. So this blue part is your spreadsheet identifier. You need to know, or Sheets needs to know which spreadsheet it's pulling information from for your new sheet. So I'll show you how to find that on your gradebook spreadsheet. The next part you need to know is the orange, which is the name of the tab. So if you look here, my tab is named Sheet 0. So I'll need to know that. Sorry, that keeps popping up. And then you'll need to know what cells you want it to copy from. So let me show you how it's very easy just to copy the individual code and fix it for what you want. So I'm just going to do copy and paste. And it's not going to work yet because I haven't modified the formula for my gradebook, my student score. So the first thing you need to do is fix your spreadsheet identifier. This is for a different spreadsheet. I want my spreadsheet identifier. The way that you find that is you go to the URL of your spreadsheet. There's a big long string of numbers, letters, maybe underscores, and it's right before the word edit. That's how you'll find that. This is how Google Sheets identifies this single spreadsheet. It's like a fingerprint for the spreadsheet. So you're going to find that string, your spreadsheet identifier, and you're going to copy that. And then I'm going to go back to my formula and I'm going to paste it where that other spreadsheet was. So now I have it going to the right spreadsheet. It knows this is the spreadsheet I want it to pull information from, but it's still not going to work because I haven't fixed the rest of it. I don't want it to be called sheet 1 because it's called sheet 0. So I need to fix the name of my sheet, of that little tab. So right over here, sheet 1, make it sheet 0. And you do need to leave the exclamation point in between. That's what separates the name of the sheet and the cells that you're going to copy. You do have to allow access to connect the two sheets. And then row 1, let me pull this out. Row 1 is the exact same that you see here. The formatting doesn't copy over, just what's inside the cells. So D1 digital breakout, D1 digital breakout. You can change this formatting if you want it to be blue, if you want it to have white, if you want it to be bold, you want to change the font, whatever you want to do. There's your first row copied over. Okay, you're going to get to see this again because now I have to copy row 2. So I'm going to, well, I'll show you the whole process again before, but I want to show you, you don't have to redo the whole thing now. you can just copy this formula you just modified and paste it in A2, but change. Now you have row 2. So I changed the numbers to 2. And I just use ZZZ because I didn't know how many columns you would need. But each time you paste this, you're going to change the row number. So now I have row 1 and row 2, which is what every kid should have. At this point, I would go in File, make a copy for each one of my students because this needs to look the same. You may have to allow access to connect the spreadsheets each time for each student, but at least you don't have to modify the formula each time. You can just File, make a copy, File, make a copy, File, make a copy. Okay? Then once you have a copy for every student, I'm going to copy my formula again, paste it in the next row, but now I need to change the row again. Danielle is row 3, so I'm going to change it to A3 to ZZZ3. So now I have a spreadsheet for Danielle, and if you look, if I move it down, let's say I add a new assignment. Now, here's the thing about Google Classroom. When Jessie downloaded this data, it does not automatically add to the spreadsheet when you create another assignment in Google Classroom, unfortunately. The spreadsheet is not connected to Classroom. It's a one-time pull of grades. So to do this, I would continue to keep my grades on this spreadsheet. If you want to continue to keep grades in Classroom, that's fine, but you'll also have to keep them in this spreadsheet so that parents can see it all together. So for my next assignment, I added on Google Classroom, maybe it was day 9 ELA. So you notice after I add it on this spreadsheet, it pops up automatically on Danielle. If it's worth 50 points, just takes a couple seconds, pops up automatically on Danielle's. And she got a score of 45, pops up automatically. So that identifier is how it connects the two spreadsheets. And then the cells are how you're telling it what part of the spreadsheet to copy right there. So those are the 3 big sections that you need to make sure that you are finding. Let's go back to that again. The spreadsheet identifier, the name of your tab, and what cells and rows you want it to copy. Okay, so I'm going to do this again for another student so you can see the process from the beginning again. So let's make, does Michaela have grades? Jessie, you want to go in and add some grades for Michaela while I'm making hers?
Yep.
All right, I'll make a spreadsheet for Michaela. So new sheet. All right, I'm going to go to those slides and copy my formula. Oops, I didn't get the whole thing. Now it's not working because I haven't modified my formula yet. So the first thing I want to do is go in here and find my spreadsheet identifier. It's this big string right before the word edit. I don't need any of the slashes. So there's my spreadsheet identifier. I copy that. I replace the spreadsheet identifier in the formula that I'm given. I make sure that my sheet, I do want to allow access, yes. Make sure that my sheet is properly labeled. This says sheet 1, but mine is sheet 0. And I want row 1, A 1 to ZZZ1. And there it's copied. I'm going to copy that again and change it to row 2. I'm going to copy it again. And Michaela is row 6. So I'm going to change hers to row 6. And then everything she has there will copy over. All right, any questions in chat right now?
Yes, there was one about where they would see their personal spreadsheet.
So it's up to you. You would find your personal spreadsheet by downloading it from Classroom, or if you haven't been doing grades in Classroom, you may start from scratch and make your own spreadsheet, and you would just go to New Sheet, or like Jessie showed you, if you go to Sheets, you can use the template and make your own from the template that they provide. Good question. Any more?
I think another thing too is you don't have to necessarily do grades. You could make this just a completed, not completed thing as well, so that then parents would have a check mark that way to know if they've completed their assignments. And then the next.
The check marks don't transfer, but you might have like yes. So now for using Screencastify, she has a yes. If you do check marks, for some reason, it goes to true and false. So that says false, but if I check it, it's true, which is, I think, would be kind of confusing for parents.
Mm-hmm.
So I would do just like numbers or text.
So then the next question is, I have 600 students. Would it be better for me to have my own column in the classroom teacher's sheet?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I would think so too. Yep.
Yes.
And yes, for parents to see this, unless they log into their student's drive, you would have to email that individual link to the parent's email.
So let's talk about sharing for a minute then. There's some directions and tips on the last 2 slides to share your spreadsheet. One thing some people were worried about is people messing with it. Obviously, I would share it view access only, but I know sometimes we make mistakes and we just share too fast and that doesn't happen. So one thing you can do is protect the sheet so that no one else can modify it. So if you go down on any spreadsheet to the little tab and click the arrow, you can say protect sheet. I don't know why you need a description. I'm just going to call it lock. And then the whole sheet, sheet 1, is what we're going to protect. And you can set the permissions so that only you can edit the sheet. So first you can lock the sheet. So right now it's locked. It even has the little symbol of a lock. So you can see that certain people can't mess with it. And then when you share, there's a couple other things I would do. Obviously, you want to share can view, and you can enter the any email address from a parent. It doesn't matter if it's in PHM. It'll probably say, hey, you're sharing outside of PHM. Are you okay with that? Yeah. But I would also go to advanced. Here in advanced, you don't really have editors, but I would check that just to be safe because I like to protect myself, like just in case I share it, edit access on accident. Just prevent someone from doing anything, but this is the most important one. Disable options to download, print, and copy. So that way no one can make a copy of it, no one can print it, no one can download it. It's just a secure spreadsheet that they can see on their screen. I would save those changes and then I would invite view access to the parent.
Mm-hmm.
So more questions I can show again, but any more questions?
Can you add a sheet at the bottom of original instead of adding another doc?
So as of right now, I don't know of any way to copy just or to share just one tab or one sheet of the whole workbook with parents. And that's why we're showing you how to do it this way. I don't know of any way to do that.
And then could you copy the first 2 rows into a new spreadsheet and then make individual student copies from there? Yeah.
Yep, that's what I would do.
Yep.
What other questions? I can show you how to do it again. It really isn't that intimidating when you see it a few times.
And you would have to do it for each one of your students, but at least it's only one time, and then you can continually go back to that original spreadsheet and put in your scores.
You would never have to open these individual spreadsheets again because everything is coming from this one because you linked them. All right, so let's make one more. And then I'll show you another variation of it. So let's make Tegan. All right, so again, I'm going to go back to the slides and I'm going to copy the formula. I'm going to paste it in A1. And it's not going to work because I haven't modified it yet. Remember, you need to look at 3 things: the spreadsheet identifier, the name of the sheet, and then which row you want it to copy. So here's my spreadsheet. I want to grab my spreadsheet identifier, this big long string right before the word edit. And yes, I will allow access. It's still not working because I need to check everything else. Sheet 0 is the name of my sheet. And the row I'm copying is 1, and that is what I want. So then I would copy this formula, paste it, change it to row 2. And then Tegan is row 7.
Hey,
so
Lisa, can I interrupt you really fast? Can you show again how you know what sheet you're on? Like the name of your sheet where you're finding that?
Okay, so if you look at your spreadsheet, you've got your identifier up here. Down at the bottom, it's really hard to see, you've got sheet 0. I could name this whatever I want, but then that means I would have to make sure up here that it's named the same thing. I just changed it to grades. So I need it to say grades in my formula. So again, it's way down here at the bottom. There can be lots of tabs if you have multiple subjects, but you just need to make sure that it's the correct name for the tab all the way down at the bottom. So your spreadsheet identifier in the URL at the top and the name of the sheet down at the bottom. And then again, I need to change the name of my sheet to match. And then Tegan was row 7. Row 7. And I know that looks weird. You can change the formatting to whatever you want it to be.
One question we have is, would you have to start a new spreadsheet each quarter in order to update the overall grade average, or is there a way to differentiate on the one sheet? That's a good question.
So for the overall grade average, that row that was in there, I'd have to look at what that looks like. My guess is that's just a value imported from Google Classroom, and you would have to create a formula to continue to show that average in there. And I know a lot of people are doing more of a participation at this point and not as much grading for content right now. I know that can probably change now that we're doing a lot of new content, but probably depending on what your principal wants you to do, I would say that that's why I kind of didn't want that on there.
Mhm.
All right, let me show you a modification. So for me, I would much prefer, oops, did I lose sharing my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll share it again. Oh, that menu at the top keeps messing me up. Okay. I would much rather prefer mine being linear. I just like to scroll down instead of scrolling to the side, probably because you have got that little roller ball on your mouse. I just think it's much easier. So I would prefer having my gradebook set up like this so that when parents are shared the assignments, it looks like this. So I modified the formula for you to show you how to do that. So here's my gradebook that I've set up. Everything is ready. So I'm going to start by making a new spreadsheet for each student. This time, when I copy my formula, I'm going to copy the formula for columns instead of rows. And the difference is you're changing the letters instead of the numbers. So I'm going to copy this one. I'll paste it here. It's not going to work until I make sure that my my spreadsheet identifier matches, my name of my sheet matches, and the columns match the way I want them to. So I'll find my spreadsheet identifier, that section right before edit, copy, paste. It's called sheet 1. Yep, I'm going to allow access. It's called sheet 1. That's appropriate. That's what I want. And then I want column A, A1 through A200. I didn't think we would go past 200, so that's where I stopped it. So there is my first column copied. Now, let's say this spreadsheet is for Jessie Kinney. I need column E for Jessie. So I go right back to A1. I copy this formula that I already made. I paste it in B, but I need to change this to E since Jessie is column E. So E1 through E200. And then there's Jessie's scores. And again, if I add a new one, they will start to pop up on Jessie's spreadsheet too. So that's just a preference. I prefer looking at it that way. We gave you both formulas so that you can decide which way you want to set it up.
A question is, if you have multiple tabs on your sheet, is it possible to have multiple tabs on the student sheet, thinking that maybe it might be easier to do each week as a tab?
Yep, as long as you've got your formula labeling which tab you're pulling from, it should not matter. So I would, if you want to see an example of that, let's say that maybe this is named week 1. So then this would need to change. And then week, down here. Week 2. I'm just going to copy this.
Again, this would take some initial setup, but once you had it, it would continue to just populate.
So this is week 1. Week 2. So now I want to, I'm just going to copy my same formula here because it's got my spreadsheet identifier already. So copy, paste, but this time I want it to pull from week 2. So now it is those modified day 2s. And Jesse, I'm going to copy that formula and just change the name of the tab again to week 2 so that all of that would populate as well.
So you would have to set it up like that from the beginning, right? Before copying for each student.
Yes. You still could do it if you really wanted to, but you just have to go into each student's spreadsheet to modify it each time you change. Yeah. What else? Do we need to see it again? Thoughts? Is it a little bit less intimidating?
You guys can also unmute yourselves and talk too if you'd rather talk than chat. I get that.
Okay, I will. Can you go back to Google Classroom and show us how you pulled that into the sheet?
Yep.
All right, let me unshare. Stop share. Go ahead, Jesse.
Okay. Okay, so if I am in my classroom, you know, it always defaults to stream. So just click over to classwork. And then from there, find your most recent posted activity or lesson. Click on that. And then click on view assignment. And then that takes you to kind of like your student work page. On the left-hand side, you could put in your scores for this. And then up here, your little gear setting thing, if you click on that, you can click on copy all grades to Google Sheets. And then that will give you that starting point for your grades up to this point. And then like Lisa said earlier, you're probably going to want to modify that before you start making your formula sheet.
What are you thinking? Is it less intimidating now that you've seen it a few times? It's really just copying and pasting.
I think it's less intimidating. My only concern though is in the Google Classroom grades, you can't differentiate. So like in second grade, if we put math, reading, all that, you can't separate it. So I would just feel like I would have to skip that and just go to the sheet.
Yep.
Right.
Okay.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yep.
then that's totally fine. So I was like, I don't think I can figure out how to.
And that's probably what I would prefer because I think mostly parents are going to want to see, well, where is my kid missing something?
Yes.
And if you just have day one all in one thing together, it's not really telling them what they need to work on.
Yeah, because within your Google assignment, you have it broken into different sections that you're probably grading. So yes, creating your own sheet is probably the smarter way, easier way to go.
Yep. So Louise, I will start from there.
Do you want me to share one with you? Oh, no, sorry. I'm following. Yep.
Starting fresh. Okay, so let's get rid of all of these. Okay, so new sheet. So I'm going to make a gradebook. Hey, Louise, do you want it, do you want it the first way I showed where you're copying the rows, or do you want it the second way I showed where you're copying the columns? Did she have a preference?
She just said Google Sheets for yes, no completion.
Okay. So I would start by entering all of my sections for each day, and you probably have kind of like a set pattern that you do. You know, every day you're going to have ELA, every day you're going to have math. Oh, I might include writing in here. And then I would go day 2, ELA. And I would probably just copy all of these and paste and change the numbers.
Lisa, do you always create your own spreadsheet, or do you use the one, the template that Google?
I always do my own. I'm really picky. So I like to have it exactly how I want it to look. So I always create my own. Jeremy, have you liked the template that they have?
Sorry, I forgot to unmute. I did that, but I just made modifications
Yeah.
to that to make it fit.
Did you like it?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm more of a grade guy. I like the traditional grade rather than the scale that we have at the email because parents understand that more than what they understand the 1, 2, 3, 4
Yeah. Yeah.
that scale. So they look at that and I think they'll like that a little bit better.
Yeah. One thing to make this easier on yourself, if you have yes, and most of your kids are probably going to be yes, click on there and look for the little box and just drag that down so they're all yeses. And then just go in and change no's.
Oh, I do want to say this too while she's kind of working on all of this. This will not sync to your Skyward. So you will have to make sure that you're also doing your Skyward grades separately, just as a heads up on that one.
I would say the purpose of this is mostly parent communication and
Correct.
maybe kid communication. You can totally share this with the students. That's fine too. I think it's great for them to see. So again, if you want to make this quicker and easier, make sure that you put a yes, click. I had to click back off and then back on to get that little box to show up. And then go over it until you get the plus and drag down for however many you need. And then just go in and put the no's. So then I've got my gradebook all set up. I would need to go in and create a separate spreadsheet for every one of these kids. The way I would do that is I would start with a new sheet. I'm going to call this one Billy. I'm going to find the formula to copy.
She said columns.
Cool.
Sorry, I just saw that.
That's all right. Okay. So I'm going to go to the column formula, copy that. So now I need to make my formula fit my spreadsheet. There's those 3 things: the spreadsheet identifier, the name of the tab at the bottom, and then the column that I want it to copy. So I'm going to find my spreadsheet identifier. It's that big long string right before edit, no slashes. I'm going to copy that identifier and replace it here. Make sure my sheet is named correctly. Sheet 1, yes. Allow access. And then column A is what I want. Now let's say this one's for Bob. He is column C. So first I would probably file, make a copy for Bob, file, make a copy for John, file, make a copy for Ed, file, make a copy for Sally before I enter any data. Then once I have one for everyone, then I can go in and add their specific data for each column. This is for Bob. He's column C. I find A, replace it with C. And there's Bob's data. Anything else?
You can also email us with questions as they come up as you're working on it too.
Yep. Anyone want to see it again? Are we good? What are we thinking?
So to
I'm
share,
good.
so to share this with parents, you would write an email and attach the spreadsheet, right?
You could write an email, but I just like sharing right from here. When you share view, go to advanced. Sorry, let me make this bigger. Make sure that you're checking everyone there. Save those changes, and let's say I'm sharing with him. You can click here to add a message, and you can explain what this is here. I just prefer to do it this way instead of copying the link to share with them. I would do it this way.
And yes, you could share through Class Dojo. Just copy that link the same way.
Thank you guys. This was really helpful.
You're so welcome.
Yeah.
If you feel like you're good and
Yeah.
no more questions, feel free to head off and go to the rest of your day. If you need any more help, hang on. I can even do it again if you'd like to.
I did.
I wish
Thank
that you
you.
guys could require this of everyone so that everyone could have this.
I
That would be
recorded this,
amazing.
so we will send that recording out too, so you can watch it again if you need to.
Cool.
Awesome. Thank you guys.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Have a great day.
You too.
Yeah,
You
thanks.
too.
So to share with students, since they can't receive email, is you could just put it into their drive and it would be there. So if you just do do you want to show them since it's on your screen?
So Michaela Kinney is right here.
Yep.
If we just do that, she won't get an email, but it will be shared with her in her drive.
Absolutely. You're very welcome. You know, I'm most impressed that both my kids stayed in the basement this whole time.
Is that because Dad's down there too?
And the TV, yeah.
Oh, the TV.